In today's video, we'll take a look at one of the cheapest, if not the cheapest, rapid trigger keyboard from Redragon. If you don't know Redragon, they make gaming peripherals that are a bit more budget friendly. And usually budget friendly means that some sacrifices had to be made in order to achieve a lower price. Is this the same in this case? Let's find out. Oh, and by the way, if you're looking for a rapid trigger keyboard for yourself, you'll find my top picks in the video description down below. First, let's see what's inside of the box. Apart from the keyboard, which has a really nice, clean, light gray to dark gray gradient on the keycaps, we'll also get a USB-C cable in white, a set of spare keys, key switch and keycap puller. I'll start with the build quality, which overall isn't too bad. We have a plastic bottom case, textured keycap which seem to be ABS, but there's no information on the website to confirm this. The switch plate seems to be also made of plastic. The legends on the keys are okay for the price. Yes, there seems to be some uneven backlight on some of them, but it's not a glaring oversight from Redragon. And I've seen some more expensive keyboards have the same issue. At the bottom you'll find adjustable feet which help you raise the keyboard for a bit of a more comfortable typing experience. Overall, the keyboard is well built and weighs around 0.6 kg. One thing I'm not a fan of is the sound of the keys. They are really loud, a bit too clacky for me, but I'll let you judge for yourself. They could definitely benefit from some lubing, better stabilizers and sound dampening, but let's be honest, taking into consideration the price, it's not too bad. The keyboard uses USB-C connector, which oddly enough is placed at the side of the keyboard, not at the top left like typical keyboards do. Initially I tried to connect my coiled cable that sits on my desk most of the time, but as you can see, nothing happened. I believe the keyboard, since it has 8000 Hz polling rate, requires much more power to run, and so I had to connect it to a different USB port on my PC, one with enough power output. So if you encounter this on your unit, try a different USB port, it should help. Let's move on to software, which allows you to control the settings on the keyboard. The UI is pretty clean and does a good job of helping you understand what's going on and what each of the function does. Here you can change the functions of the keys, set rapid trigger settings for down and up stroke, set the key sensitivity, and by the way you can do all of this for each key individually. You can also change RGB settings and performance, although weirdly enough in the performance tab you only get to lock certain shortcuts and keys like Alt-Tab, Alt-F4 and Windows key. There's no changing of the polling frequency, which I was hoping to find here, so the keyboard is locked at 8000 Hz. Alright, let's jump to the most interesting part of today's review, which is rapid trigger accuracy and performance testing. Let's start with accuracy. I've set the keyboard to lowest possible sensitivity, which is 0.1 mm, and tested with a micrometer whether the keyboard really follows those values. And it does. Redragon made sure to properly calibrate the switches on the keyboard, so setting the lowest value gives you fastest reaction from the keys, which in reality is much lower than 0.1 mm, closer to 0.05 mm, so half of that value. That's pretty impressive, and fortunately I haven't noticed any accidental inputs or weird behavior. What's not so good is the small dead zone when you completely bottom out the key. There's around 0.3–0.5 mm travel distance before the key registers that it has been released. I even tried recalibrating the button, but it didn't seem to do anything. Of course, it's not a huge deal and not something you will notice during everyday use, but I still think it's worth mentioning. Moving on to performance. As always, I've set the rapid trigger sensitivity to lowest possible setting and used 1000 FPS mode on my secondary camera to register the time between release of the button and change on the screen. I did minimum 10 runs to average out the results and counted the number of frames from when the button starts moving up until the unscope animation begins. And the results are very underwhelming. The average delay for the Redragon Fizz was 77 milliseconds, 3 times more than Wooting, which I tested the same way, and more or less twice as much when compared to SteelSeries Apex Pro from 2023. And it seems that the 8K Hz polling rate doesn't do anything here, but I wish there was a way to test this and compare to 1000 Hz mode, which most of the rapid trigger keyboards use. Either way, it's a disappointing result, even taking into consideration the price of the keyboard, which is around $65. So to sum things up, the FIS K617 is not an entirely fake product, as it does have some very good rapid trigger accuracy, but falls short in terms of performance, being 3 times slower than the Wooting and Polar 65 and 2 times slower than Apex Pro 10 Keyless 2023 and ACO MOD 007. The only argument I have here for the keyboard is its competitive price. Nothing even comes close to that. So if you're looking for a budget keyboard which will work pretty well and you do not expect flagship tier latency, then this keyboard can be a viable alternative to keyboards from Wooting, Razer or SteelSeries, which tend to cost 2 or 3 times more.